3, 2, 1, go. What is up, and welcome back to the Daily Traders Podcast. I'm your host, Mark. This is my co-host, Jack, and we're back today live at the FX Summit. We have a very special guest on with us. Joshua, it's good to have you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me on here.
Listen, tell us a bit about your story. For anyone who doesn't know you, how did you get started in this industry?
So I've been trading for about 5, close to 6 years. And I got started trading, actually taking signals off from someone that I just found online.
Really?
Got started from that.
Was it him?
Yeah, right. Man, I don't even. This guy's not even around anymore. I don't even remember his name or anything. But yeah. Anyways, that's how I got started taking signals, which is the worst decision you probably can make, I think. But yeah. So I just from there, it's just like took years and years of just like learning and trial and error, just kind of like figuring out what works for me and stuff like that. So
okay. What was that learning curve like for you before you became profitable?
Yeah, it was pretty rough. I had like definitely, everyone says like right about the 4-year mark, you kind of hit, and you actually get good at it, which I say is true. I kind of hit that 4-year mark, and then I learned something that was very, very valuable, but actually was very, very, devastating. I had a few different businesses that I was working on, and they all went really bad, and I owed a lot of money, and so I owed nearly like $200,000. So I was in like a massive amount of debt with no job, and so I initially got like a salary job from then, but just learned a lot about like overcoming fear and like coming from building yourself up, from that state and just being successful, having that successful mindset. So I'm grateful that I went through all that struggle, but it definitely learned a lot because I was pretty successful there for the first 4-year mark, and then all that stuff happened, and then my trading went to shit. I mean, it was bad, and so
did you think about
so
quitting?
Really, 100%. But I definitely at times I did. But going through that, like you just learn that like it's not really about how you trade and like what technical analysis you use and all that stuff. It's more about your mindset. That's what I learned from it. It's like all that stuff, external stuff was going on, which made my trading bad, and so it was a long process getting out of that. But good experience all in all.
So you're funded right now. What's the account size you're trading with?
So I have multiple funded accounts with some prop firms, roughly $2 million in funding, and then I have a decent-sized personal account that I'm trading, and so we're building up. Actually, I have a hedge fund that we're working on, and I have some money allocated in an account with the hedge fund as well. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, we're working on some cool stuff. So
this morning you said you closed a trade. You went up to speak here at the FX Summit, and you closed your trade for how much profit right before you went to speak?
Yeah, I profited. I got in early this morning and it closed. I profited like 2%. So 2% of like roughly 2 million. So yeah.
Nice payday.
Yeah, it was nice.
Just before speaking at a trading event.
Yeah.
It's good full circle.
Right?
Yeah.
So I want to understand your story more. You said you were running a business. Real quick, what type of business were you running?
Yeah, so it was a couple different things I was doing. I connected with a guy online. We did a funding, got loans out under my name with different credit unions and things like that. Credit cards, all that stuff. We were doing like Shopify, selling stuff on Amazon. So e-commerce stuff mainly. Website never came about. It all kind of just went bad.
Sure.
And so, it was hoping it would work out fine, but obviously.
Yeah. And you weren't at this point. You really weren't looking at trading as a viable career.
Right. Yeah, I was doing both of them at the same time, spending more time on the business or whatever. But I was doing decently well with trading.
Yeah. So the business failed. You're in $200,000 in debt. What did you do? Like, did you have to ask mom and dad for money? Did you have to go back to the workforce and like do your own thing?
Right. Yeah, I definitely did ask my parents for money. They said no. So, yeah, that was crazy. The crazy thing is I actually I owed banks roughly like 100-something thousand, and then I was trading capital for a friend of mine who's like a really good real estate agent, really good real estate agent guy. very wealthy. I was trading his capital. It was like a $100,000 account. And when those businesses crashed, all my trading went shit. I actually owed him roughly like $80,000. So like that, like
you owed the real estate guy $80,000.
Yeah,
so you
yeah.
lost him $80,000.
Yep.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. So
did you ever pay him back? Like,
I did, yeah.
Wow.
So I'm curious, you had this like awful experience trading with someone else's capital.
Yeah.
How did you then like overcome that and be able to take on, funded capital to trade with?
Yeah, just like I had the mindset that like I knew when I like was trading at that time, I knew that I could do this. I knew from the beginning too, but I just built up that belief. And even still going through that, I just knew that I could figure this out. I knew I could do it.
Yeah.
And I think that really is that's what I talked about on the stage is like your self-talk is the most important thing. And so I had that, I believed in myself. I believed that I could figure this out. I knew I could trade. And so even though I was going through a terrible time, I still kept that,
Yeah.
and it took a toll on me. I definitely wasn't, thinking that way for a couple of months, but
That's a very common trait, I think, with a lot of the guests we've had on today. Is there's like no plan B, and you're in your mind you're so certain that it's going to work. There's no question that it won't.
Yeah.
And I think that's with any person who's very successful in what they do. It's the same with trading. From a psychological standpoint, maybe early on, what are a couple habits you developed that have really helped you up to this point?
Yeah. So I narrowed it down to like two main things. Is like your routine and it's really like your environment. So like there's two things under your environment. It's like your routine and the people you hang out with.
Yeah.
And routine, I look at your diet because you get like really good energy when you're eating healthy and you're staying healthy and stuff like that. Sleeping is super important to me, so I structure that very critical on that.
How do you go
sleep.
about managing your sleep? Do you have any wearables like an Oura Ring or an Apple Watch or like a sleep tracker?
I definitely want to get into I definitely know my brother has a ring. I think they would definitely be useful. I just have an app on my phone where it monitors my sleep, but I do use that for now. But definitely some habits like doing a sauna before you like an hour before you go to sleep and stuff like that.
Taking cold showers in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. Getting sunlight in the morning, going on a walk in the morning, all that helps you to like wake up and feel rejuvenated in the morning and stuff like that. That way you can like execute in the market.
Yeah, I kind of want to speak on that because I was someone who like really, really struggled with the sleep routine. I was very passionate about trading, other business ventures, but I just like couldn't get out of bed before 9 a.m. And it wasn't a motivation issue. It was just like I just wanted to sleep. Like I don't know what it was. And like what I found is that like I just had an alarm set for the same time every single day. And what I would do is like put your phone on the other side of the room.
Yep.
And then just do that like enough. And like surely like after a month of doing this, I was like finally able to. I was like a wannabe early riser for like the longest time.
Really?
Eventually, I was like, all right, I need to figure this the fuck out because I keep waking up late and I don't get to do my pre-market, and then I would make bad trades, and it was like this thing that I really struggled with internally. So I think like sleep is so, and then you don't get good sleep, you don't trade well.
Yeah.
I just want to quickly interrupt to thank this episode's sponsor, thedailytraders.com. Now, if you're interested in learning how to trade in the stock market, I put together a curriculum of videos covering my entire trading system, and will also be giving you access to see my exact trades in the stock market, my entries and my exits. So I'm either making money or losing money, and you're able to essentially follow along and copy my trades if you so desire. If that's of interest, click the first link in the description below, hit the apply now button, fill out that short application, and if qualified, someone from my team will be reaching out. All right, on with the episode.
Sleep is wildly
It's
important.
super important. Yeah, it's like I start off the day trying to like accomplish such a small goal, and then it just compounds.
Yeah.
So start like it's so powerful, but it's such a simple thing, but it's really powerful. So it's like wake up, put your feet on the ground, do some breathing, make your bed, and then you've accomplished that already. Now you can just go on to like accomplishing more and more and more. So it's like you start off on a good foot, good feeding, good foot. So
the biggest thing is like don't start your day and get right on Instagram.
Yeah.
That's like just the worst way to start your day.
Yep.
It's just going to accumulate bad habits. You're not going to be productive.
100%,
but
yeah.
I'm like huge on sleep, so I'd love to hear that.
And don't go to sleep with a TV on, or like don't watch TV like an hour before you go to sleep or something like that. So
That's important. Well, cool. I want to talk
important.
more about your trading strategy. We're on a trading podcast.
Yeah,
I think we should get into
definitely
it.
right,
So
yeah.
let's talk first. Let's start like this trade you took this morning made roughly $34,000.
Yeah.
What did you see? What was going on? Fundamental, technical? Like walk us through the whole thing. Profit, loss, risk you were taking, etc.
Yeah, this might be kind of foreign to say, but I think looking at fundamentals isn't needed whenever you're day trading. That's what I do. I day trade. I'm in and out within a day. Maybe if you're looking at like longer term trades, but fundamental analysis is not needed to like analyze, whenever you're day trading. So mine is very strictly just technical analysis.
Yeah.
And so I only look at Asia trade or a New York trade. Obviously not trading in London session because I'm sleeping. And so, my strategy is a volume profile strategy. We initially came up with the strategy. I have a team of with me that basically we came up with the strategy. But initially started off as finding balance in the market.
Yeah.
And so utilizing the volume profile as a way to find balance and trading off of those high and low areas.
Yeah.
But then there's also times in the market whenever it's trending. And so we also developed a strategy, a way you can read the volume profile whenever it's trending as well. So it's really neat. It's I don't think a whole lot of people use the volume profile.
No, and it was funny. We learned a lot about it. We know Steve Hawkins, who is one of the creators of Market Profile, which is, in a way,
Market profile is the same thing as volume. For those who don't know,
yeah.
it's the same thing as volume profile, except instead of tracking the amount of volume, it tracks the time spent at certain prices.
Right, exactly.
So essentially, they look very similar. Same trading strategy, look very similar, kind of conveys the same message. It's kind of like the difference between like a 16 moving average and an 18 moving average.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Definitely.
So you and your team created this tool.
Yep.
It's an indicator, essentially your own volume profile.
Yeah. Well, we actually utilize just the regular volume profile that is on TradingView.
Okay.
The session volume profile.
Just normal volume profile.
Yeah. We utilize a little bit like the fixed volume profile to get like the weekly volume. But getting the daily volume is what we use.
So what are you looking at on there to tell you when to buy and when to sell?
Yeah, so we're looking at we're looking at the shape of the volume.
Yeah.
So if you look at the volume profile, it's like sometimes it's balanced. Where if you look at if you think of like a normal distribution, you know how it's like a bell curve.
Yep.
Well, flip it on its side, that's like a balanced market. Whenever it's a bell curve.
So you trade the balance of vertical moves.
Exactly. So whenever it's like in the high point, you sell. Whenever it's in the low point, you buy. And they have a POC line, which is like the point of control is what they call it, POC line. That's where like price is gonna revert back to majority of the time. And so we utilize like the shape of the volume profile to give us direction of where the market's going to go the next day. So we're always looking at like the previous day data.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
So can you tell us before we go to the next topic, can you talk to us about the trade you took this morning, what you saw and what you acted on?
Yeah, so yesterday's volume profile is a very simple strategy. I can like show you on screen just like in like 5 minutes. It's very simple, but like yesterday's volume profile was a long P formation, is what we came up with the terms, long P. It was basically market was moving up, and the formation of...
It kind of looks like a P.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. The volume profile was a P, so like, we know that. Now we go into the next day, we're going to look for buys. And so then we just look for an engulfing within the Asia or New York session, and then we go from there. So,
okay. It's interesting, like a common kind of theme today, with everyone is the strategies used by, very successful traders aren't like these black box secret magic, indicators or something. They're pretty simple, like market fundamental, basic, not easy to learn, but doable. I feel like anyone could learn how to read a volume profile or market profile and trade off that. So why can't people get there? Like, why can't people figure out what you did?
Yeah. I think that's well, like where my expertise came in from is basically taking in all this information, all this data, all this information of different indicators, different strategies, stuff like that, and like weeding out all the stuff that just, isn't needed and simplifying, because a trader needs simplicity to execute. Because like there's a lot of emotional, battle that you go into whenever you're trading, and you don't have time to like look at this indicator and then look at this indicator, look at this one, and then like, have like 20 different rules that you need to all line up. If you have a very simple strategy that's just like maybe 1, 2, 3, and that's it, then you can execute on that, time after time after time. Okay. So that's what's worked for me, is like just simplifying things. It makes trading just so much easier.
Yeah, so I think that's like, I've always found simplistic is better. I have a pretty simple strategy. I swing trade.
Nice. Okay.
So I like this question. Have you learned more from your biggest loss or biggest win? And what did you learn?
Yeah, biggest loss for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think whenever you win, you tend to not analyze. You tend to like enjoy the rest of the day, and
pat yourself on the back.
Yeah, exactly. You did a good job. So you definitely can learn a lot from your wins, 100%. So, but definitely, the losses hit you harder.
Yep.
And so it forces you to actually go and see what you did wrong and stuff like that. So honestly, I enjoy the losses in a weird way. So, and I think it's a great mindset to have, is like, if you're grateful for the losses, then like, and I never say in my journal, I never say losses. I always say lessons. Because like, if you keep that mindset, you're always going to learn. You're always going to get better. So
yeah, I mean, if you have a loss and you could go back and locate the problem and fix it, you're going to make more money in the long term.
Yeah. So with that said, what is your biggest loss and what did you learn from it?
So my biggest loss was whenever I was trading for that real estate guy I was telling you about. Yeah, crazy thing. I was actually up 60% that month.
On the whole account?
On the whole account.
Wow.
I was over risking, obviously.
Yeah.
I was doing really well, executing perfectly. I was risking a lot though, and I literally had 160K all the way down to like 25K.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Wow. And I'd like, it was right when all the businesses crashed. I got into a trade. It started going down. I was in a buy. It was going down, and I was like, it's got to go up. So I got another buy, and you just kept.
That's always the story.
It's like the worst thing you can do in trading. You know what I mean? It's like, is to reposition yourself, never have a stop loss. I didn't have a stop loss, which is the dumbest thing you can do.
How did you deal with that? That must have been, not only for this guy who trusted you, and you kind of, you messed up, and you owe him a ton of money that you don't have, and now to make matters worse, you're in even more debt.
Yeah.
What did you do during that period of time to not only survive as a person, but get back on that horse and get back into trading and actually get where you are today, which is $32,000 days before you go up in for a speech.
Obviously, when it hit, and I the broker started taking me out of positions because it just got into the negative, and started taking me out. I was actually in Miami. I was actually here on a trip, and he's back home, and he was calling me and texting me, and I took a couple hours to myself. I was just I gotta cool off, you know what I mean? And finally got back in touch with him, and I was like, hey, let's just get together when I'm back in town, and we'll hash this out. We'll figure out what we need to do and stuff like that. So, we talked things out, and hey, I'm definitely open to paying you back over time. So let's just put together a new contract, where I'm paying you back, monthly, payments, whatever. And then once I got my mind right, it took me 5-6 months and started working with prop firms. I mean, I paid them off, instantly whenever I got, withdraw from prop firms. So yeah.
Wow.
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So obviously after that incident, I'm sure risk became the utmost importance in your mind.
Yeah.
What did you do, risk-wise, I guess, that you weren't doing before, and what do you do now to manage risk?
Yeah. So stop loss, that's just not you can't not trade. You can't not trade with the stop loss. Like stop loss is a given. Like that's just how you trade. So that risking 1% on every trade.
1%.
Yeah, risking 1%. Definitely with prop firms, you know, like you can do more with like a personal account and things like that. But with prop firms, I'm trading 1%, maybe 2% in a day.
They limit you to 1 or 2%, or what's your like limit?
I just limit myself to like 1% a day.
What's the account limit? Like, I'm curious. It's different for everyone.
Right. Most of them are 5%. You can't lose more than 5% in a day
Of the account balance.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I mean, if you said sometimes you're risking 2%.
Yeah.
And normally you don't risk more than 1%. So the amount you're risking per trade is between 1 and 2%. If you lose 3 trade, max 5 trades in a row, then you're done. There goes your $2 million.
Yeah. Well, actually,
the 2%'s the position.
It's 5% in a day, and then usually they're like 10% total.
Okay.
So some are like 8% total, but most of them are like 10% total.
Okay.
So,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, still, like a 10% drawdown in a month, an 8% drawdown in a month is not like that crazy as far as risk management.
Right.
Like if you lose 8% in a month, like it's not that crazy to get back. Like those, we do like it's a statistical game it's a probability game. I have this percent chance of winning this trade with this amount of payout, risk to reward.
Right.
So how do you, keep prop firms? How do you not lose the money? Or go negative and lose the account and still be able to like properly put on risk?
Yeah. It's definitely comes down to just like your strategy. Like, if you have a high probability strategy, you can risk that much. I mean, I know like if you don't have a high probability strategy, and you're going to incur more losses, then you probably need to jump your, risk to maybe like 0.5% or whatever. So that like during times like, a losing streak, you can not lose, 10% total. So, but I have a pretty high probability strategy, which I'm grateful for. And
you look for you look for the trend days on the volume profile, and then you look for a conformational bias being whether it's a candlestick pattern, some type of moving average cross, whatever.
No, it's actually just making sure market grab liquidity and look for an engulfing candle, and that's pretty much it.
So you're looking for a trend day on the volume profile, and then an engulfing candle.
Yeah, trend day or a balance day. Yep.
Okay.
So a balance day, as long as it's out of the value area, which is like the 70% mark.
Yeah, it's a bell curve.
Yeah, exactly. So make sure it's out of there, and then you just trading back into the.
Yeah, when you tell me this strategy, it sounds so simple that like I'm like, oh, because I'm not trading that much right now.
Yeah.
Just because I'm very busy with other stuff.
Yeah.
It's so simple. It sounds like I'm like, fuck, I want to go like turn on my computer right now and just try it and see what I can do.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's so simple, but like, you can still incur losses. Obviously, it's like the theory behind it is like sound. It works.
Mm-hmm.
But the mental will
That's the hardest part.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
That'll mess you up. So, yeah.
So anyone out there who's watching right now, say they have like $500 to get started trading. What would you recommend them do? Because that's most people. Most people want to get started and don't have money.
Right. Yeah. I always say like, depending on like if you have a full-time job and you're trying to trade, like that's honestly ideal when you're first starting off.
Yeah.
A lot of people say like, you gotta quit your job to trade and stuff like that. Like honestly, like if you have a full-time job, and trying to trade, it's actually a little bit easier just because you have that cushion that you're getting money in, consistently. So it's like you have that stability. If you don't have a full-time job, make sure you have enough capital to last you for like 6 months or so.
Yeah, that's what I always say.
But if, like $500, like man, jump into, make sure you have like a strategy that works, that you feel confident in, and you can be profitable. Get into like a prop firm like Top Tier or something like that, and like, and get funded. I mean, it's literally life-changing. Like I was saying on stage, I like last summer was when I was in, $200,000 worth of debt. and change my life working with these prop firms,
Wow.
within a year. So
Wow.
like Thanksgiving last year, I was still working my 9 to 5 salary
Wow.
job, and I was making more money, a month than I was the whole salary. You know what I mean? So, so it's
So you see
crazy.
yourself always trading funded money, or do you want to get out there and trade on your own? Because I trade with my own capital. I'm trading with $500,000 right now, and I
Nice.
wouldn't. I don't know. I'm just too. I wouldn't want. I don't need to now, but I wouldn't
Yeah.
want to take a prop firm's money
Really?
to trade with. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's just personal
Right.
choice, I guess. But
Yeah, if you're successful now already, like trading your own money, then like there's no real need to do prop firms or whatever. Especially if you like, you're risking more, and like, your strategy might not like coincide with the rules and stuff like that of prop firms. Then I wouldn't tell you to jump in, but like definitely if you have a strategy that can like work within the rules of prop firms, then I definitely would go for it. But
and you'd always see yourself trading.
yeah,
funded?
so I think for the next little bit, I'm going to continue with prop firms.
Yeah.
But definitely, like the goal and our goal is to move out of prop firms and to really take on like large investors.
Yeah, you're talking about a hedge fund.
yeah.
Let's hear more about that.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. We definitely put a lot into our strategy and how we're going to. I think building that foundation is so important. And so we've basically put the groundwork in this past 6 months or so of developing a strategy and the psychology of it. So I actually have like a psychologist that works for me. I pay him salary. He's my psychologist. So like
Really?
So I basically call him an hour or two a day. We meet
Really?
up
Wow.
and go through anything that could be a hiccup that I'm having. And so the basically now that we have the foundation, now we can bring on potential traders, and now that we get like a couple years of trading history, then we go to investors and things like that and take on capital.
So the psychologist is really interesting because when I look at you, and I don't mean to stereotype, but you seem like a healthy guy, like mentally healthy.
Yeah.
Having a psychologist is generally looked at something that you get when you're depressed,
Right.
Or you have really bad anxiety, or
Yeah.
like you have some type of cognitive issue that's like holding you back in life,
Right.
And but you're using it as an actual like performance enhancer,
Yeah.
as something
Really a
to
performance coach, yeah.
actualize yourself.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, performance coach. It's probably maybe even a better word, performance coach. But he really, it all is just like psychology.
Yeah.
that we're
Have you
talking
ever
about.
seen the show
So-
Billions?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
He loves that
Yeah.
show.
Good show.
What's
her
the
name?
Wendy?
Wendy,
Yeah. Wendy's the psychologist,
Yeah.
and Bobby Axelrod attributes her to like so much success
Exactly. Yeah.
in the firm. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's interesting. Like you're actually, did Bobby Axelrod
Yeah.
inspire you to get the psychologist?
Definitely heavily. Yeah, definitely heavily. Yeah.
That's so funny.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's like the first.
It's a good
I've-
show.
I
It's
mean,
a good show.
maybe no one's saying it, but I haven't heard anyone else having personal
Yeah, I would not be
psychologist
surprised
for-
if this kid
Yeah.
went and got a.
It's a great
Yeah.
I know
idea.
you're thinking
It's
about
powerful,
it.
dude. Like,
Yeah.
definitely just keep you accountable and like make sure you can like, actually ask you the right questions and like, dive deep into like actually what you're thinking and a person that can actually read you really well, so, which, and it's funny, like I had like, when I lost all that money, I had to go get a job, and I got a job at this real estate company.
Yep.
And if I didn't go through that struggle, I wouldn't have met this guy that is my psychologist now.
Wow.
So like it all works out together. It's wild. I met him at that job.
Wow.
So yeah.
Super cool. Good for you.
Yeah.
What are your goals trading long term?
Yeah.
Gains, capital
Long-term?
gains goals, or
Yeah. Definitely build up a hedge fund. We're working on some pretty cool stuff as far as like AI. We're hopefully coming out with a website. This will probably be a good ways out, but we're wanting to come up with a website that utilizes AI. That basically we feed it. I don't want to get into technicals, but like we feed it information more on the fundamental side, but also incorporating the technicals a little bit about like how we trade right now, and basically coming out with a subscription website where you are able to basically get very helpful information instead of just using like market websites where they're all just telling you news and it's all just bias and
Sure.
and people just talking.
Yeah.
This is actually backed by like data and information and AI. So
Wow.
so that's kind of what we're working on.
What
So
are your thoughts on like AI taking over and trading? like,
Yeah.
with no human involvement.
yeah.
Yeah. When you say we, have you like established a team around this? How far are you into this development?
Yeah, we have the idea. We started working with a coder, and basically to get the back end built. He actually has other projects he's working on, so we're actually looking at getting connected with. That's why we're here. One of the reasons why we're here is to connect with people that can code and stuff like that.
Wow.
So that's kind of how far we've gotten. So
Yeah.
it's should be pretty cool. So
I mean, yeah, getting ahead of the curve.
yeah,
AI.
but yeah, as far as AI, like I think it's the future. I think it's definitely what's going to be 10 years from now. Just be huge. I mean, you think of like the most profitable hedge fund out there is all algorithm trading.
It's fascinating.
Yeah,
It's a crazy
It is.
world. Like just
So.
one of our guys on our team's always using his little chat GBT. And it's
Oh, right.
crazy. I think it will be the future. Trading, like I think personally there needs to be human input,
yeah,
like
Yeah.
to some degree.
to some degree,
monitor.
for sure. Uh-huh.
But I don't know. We'll see what
So-
happens. Are there any pieces of advice, like maybe key takeaways, things that have really got you to where you are over that crazy progress you've had over the last year that you
Yeah.
could share with the audience?
Yeah.
I thought I've come a long way this year. Jeez, bro.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
impressive.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. No, I think I narrowed it down. I think like what I mentioned when I was on stage was I left it as most important thing is self-talk.
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 Yeah.
And like, what do you say to yourself? What do you believe about yourself?
Can you give us an example?
Yeah, so like I was talking to a friend of mine just the other day, and he was saying that I'm not good with a budget. I'm not like I never have enough money. Like I'm not good with money. I don't really know how to do money. 3-4 months ago, he had a job, and then he got a new job, paying double what he had,
Really?
and yet he's still not able to handle money. And it's like you keep saying to yourself that you can't handle money. Change your mindset. Say that like I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah.
I can handle money. I can do a budget. It just starts with like a decision you make in your head and what you say to yourself. It's like that's what I told on stage is like I'm sure if people have seen this is like whenever things go wrong in your life, whether it be like a breakup that you had or family issue or any external thing,
Yeah.
it affects your trading.
Of course.
100%. And it's because that negative stuff that's going on, perceived negative stuff. Because I would say it's negative. It's all perceived negative. You keep saying to yourself that it's bad. And then like, oh, I don't deserve this girl, or, this family member's, caused me trouble. And it's like,
Yeah, you're just
it's
feeding
all
that
just
into your
self-talk. It's
mind.
all negative stuff that you're feeding yourself. So I'm very, conscious of like what I'm saying to myself and
Yeah.
what I'm believing about myself.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of just like who you have around you and like what information you're listening to and feeding yourself and reading and stuff like that. So
I like that.
yeah,
That's awesome.
Awesome. All right.
Sweet.
yeah,
Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode.
cool.
Any
Cool.
final words you'd like to share?
No, add me on Instagram.
Do it.
Handle is _Josh Lee. So yeah, look me up. Thanks for
All
having me
right.
on here.
Go follow Josh. Thank
see,
you
bro,
so much
Josh.
for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, definitely.
Appreciate it.
See ya. Thanks.